Gleich ist es soweit. Der neunfache Gewinner der Rallye Roof of Africa, Alfie Cox, gibt uns ein Interview und ihr seid dabei. Alles über die Dakar, alles über die Härten und die Zukunft. Go.
Hey Philip, let's go and have a cup of coffee, man. Come on.
Dam, 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 dam. Ja, da kommt irgendwann mal das Intro, aber Alfie Cox, wer ist das? Der neunfache Gewinner der Roof of Africa, das damals härteste Enduro-Rennen der Welt, erster Gewinner des Erzbergs. Das ist einmal Grund genug, dass man ihn besucht. Sein Einsatz in der Dakar hat ja dazu geführt, dass KTM den Weltrekord aufgestellt hat, in einer Königsdisziplin des Motorsports konsekutiv Siege für 18 Jahre aufzustellen. 18 Mal quasi die Dakar gewonnen und Alfie Cox ist ein großer Teil von all dem. Ein Idol meiner Jugend. Das hier ist mein Büro vor 20 Jahren. Ich habe die Posters ausgedrückt. Also das war ein Idol für mich und deswegen besuchte ich ihn jetzt und wir erfahren von ihm. Erstens einmal, sein Sohn startet bei der Dakar 2022. Zweitens, was hat das für KTM bedeutet? Gibt es eine Stallorder? Was sein Sponsor Red Bull, wie wichtig ist das? Und was macht er jetzt überhaupt? Fahren wir nach Südafrika, schauen wir uns das an. Das ist die ganze Geschichte. Okay, Alfie, thanks a lot for having time in this busy season. The first question our riders in Austria want to know, why did you switch from two wheels to four wheels in the Dakar?
No, I think, you get to that age where two wheels, I did 7 Dakars on a motorcycle, and when you lose as many friends as we've lost in the KTM team, Fabrizio Mioni, we've lost Richard Saint, and when it was the Mioni time, at the end of that Dakar, I was already 43 or 44 years old, and I had a nice time in the Dakar with the motorcycles, and I had an opportunity. I was racing the Nissan trophy truck here in South Africa already during the year, so it was quite easy to make the switch. It is safer, and when you're getting older, it's a lot more fun to go fast in a pickup.
Well, not only as a competitor, but also as a spectator, let's say from out of the car. But maybe afterwards you also followed the Dakar media coverage. What kind of difference can you see between the style, the event, and especially the riders the last 20 years after your career?
Well, I think now the riders are much younger. That's one thing that we've seen. I mean, look at my son. He's only 23 years old, going for his first Dakar, Bradley, and definitely the riders are much younger. In my day, the Peter Hansels, the Mionis, the guys like Nani Roma, they were all of our own age. I think I was the oldest together with Mioni, but definitely now the riders are much younger. You can see it in all forms of sports. That's one thing is noticeable. The younger riders are taking on these big challenges.
Maybe when you got passed by a bike at the Dakar, or maybe you passed the bike at the Dakar, could you see any difference in the speed maybe? Because I mean there's a lot of new technologies, and the riders they came from a very high world championship level concerning the riding skills.
I think in the four wheels, Jürgen Schröder and myself, we were together in the Dakar. I was the driver, he was the navigator and the owner of the team. The company's PS Laser in Holland, in Germany. And we come from a motorcycle background. Jürgen is a North German motocross veteran rider. So we come from a motorcycle, and to be in the car, we caught a lot of riders from, I would say, the back of the pack to the middle of the pack. I don't think we ever got to the top 20 guys because they were a little bit ahead of us. But yeah, it was frightening when you come up behind a rider, and always in the Dakar, the riders that are in 60, 80 to 100th place are always a lot slower than the front guys, and you arrive in a four wheels at big speed, and you're a little bit nervous because you don't know what the rider is going to do, go left or right. Has he heard the buzzer going off, and has he looked back to see? But you don't want to close the gas. You've still got the gas down, and it's a bit frightening. I do feel sorry for the motorcyclists when the cars are overtaking. It's dangerous. That's all I can say.
Okay, now a question. It's a long time ago, and we all know Kinney. So was there any order when you were a professional KTM rider in the Dakar team, to support the leading guy? So something like don't overtake him, or were there only little strategic points you have to follow?
No, I think we definitely know 2001. There were team orders. It came from Mr. Pera, and it was passed down to Heinz Kindergartner, who was our team chef, together with Mr. Trunkenpolz, Hans Trunkenpolz, the late Hans Trunkenpolz. And in 2001, there was definitely team orders because really it was going to be the first time that KTM was going to win the Dakar, the top 5 places. It was for marketing. It was huge, and it was a little bit boring for us as riders, but understand that is that we are riders for a big factory like KTM, and we listened to what they said and we did what they wanted, but we were rewarded. I mean, Mr. Pera is a fantastic man. He's got a good heart, and we all got a very nice 640 in those days as a Christmas present for what we had to do. So it's not that we didn't get rewarded. We were rewarded for it. It was a bit hard for the journalists because the journalists were having a look and they could see what we were doing every day. Nobody was overtaking, and we were playing a catching game every day to try and make it look like it was a race. But the journalists could see it wasn't a race, and it was really boring for the media. But for KTM and the marketing, and from that day onwards, KTM, have won so many Dakars. It's 17 Dakars or something. So
world record still.
World record still, yes. But like I say, Mr. Pera, he rewarded us, and it's still one of the most amazing companies. My dealership is now 21 years old, one of the oldest ones in South Africa, and I love the brand, and for me it's a passion, and it's so nice to sell somebody a motorcycle that they are so enthusiastic about, and they have a lot of fun, and not many problems with the brand.
Well, that's nice to hear. The fire is still inside. Yeah, I like that. You mentioned your son. I want to talk about it later. Different question, but being here for 3 weeks and followed the media. South Africa is a quite successful country. Just think about the Binders, Ovendal, then Wade Young, second the Romaniac. Why is that? Actually, I saw you have a lot of place where you can practice, but is there any kind of education school, or is it a mentality, or what do you think? Why are you so successful, in world racing on motorbikes?
I just think we look at it from we don't come from rich families. Most of the guys, have really fight hard to get onto the world circuit. That's very important, and I think I look at it. It's when you really have to fight to get somewhere. You put extra in, and but one thing I do say is we have the country to practice, to train 12 months of the year. We don't really have a winter like Austria and Germany where you can't ride a motorcycle for a few months. We ride 12 months of the year, and we have such amazing enduro street tracks. So whether you're a Brad Binder or a Wade Young or a Alfie Cox or whoever you are, whether it's got wheels and an engine, we can put it to its full test in 12 months of the year. We don't have to go anywhere to go and train. You know, where Wade Young comes from, the South Coast. It's got one of the most enduro countries. That's why I think he's so good. And we've got the mountains, we've got the forests, we've got everything close to our feet and our doorsteps. But I just think it's the background, you know, really having to fight for something, not having the money, and understand South Africa has a lot of history, you know, a political history, and also you understand that the money is not, it's nice for the Austrians and the Germans and the English to come here, you know, at 16 and 18 and 20 to 1, but when it's the other way around, you know, we just take it for granted now. When my boy is going to the Dakar, Bradley, I think it's 80 or 90,000 euros. You know, if it's 80 or 90,000 South African rands, that's money you can find.
Yeah,
but when it's 1.5 million rand, that's a lot of money. And it would be the same for Austrians if they had to spend 1.5 million to go to the Dakar. It would be the same. So I think it's the fight, and it's the it's just how we are brought up. And I don't say we're tougher than the rest of the world, but we've had hard times in our lives, and I think that's why we come back better and stronger.
Well, I'm jealous, and I think the guys at home are jealous too, because it's snowing in Vienna right now. So could you clear me up before we talk about what you're doing now? I've read that Chris Birch is in your team. So what does that mean, or is it the wrong information? And then please tell us the plans and maybe the history of your son, Bradley Cox.
So let's get on to Chris Birch first of all. He was coming here to ride the Roof of Africa, you know, 10 years ago. And he would come. I think Chris Birch won the Roof of Africa 4 times. And he wanted to come away from New Zealand. The racing wasn't so interesting for him. He wanted a new challenge in life. And together with one of my sponsors that I had, Ian Stevenson from Comsol, we put a package together for Chris Birch, and he came over, and KTM helped us. Obviously, KTM South Africa helped us with motorcycles and spare parts. And Chris Birch stayed here for 2 years, racing the South African Enduro and Extreme Series. And that's where Chris Birch, but he's been back home now nearly 5 years. And so that was the story of Chris Birch. He was riding under the Alfie Cox banner, and together with the help of KTM. And I think he enjoyed his time here. He did very well. He is a good rider, but you know, old age gets on your side, and eventually you have to change your thoughts to different things. But you know, Bradley, if I can talk about my son Bradley, please. You know, as a young boy he's a motocross rider in the beginning from 7 years old, and then eventually in South Africa, I think he was 14 or 15. He was a Red Bull athlete. And then Red Bull gave him the chance to go to Europe to go and race the EMX 125 motocross championship, and then to try and get onto MX2. But we all know when you come to Europe, you'd only have 5 fast riders. You have 100 every weekend, and it was a real fight for him to stay injury-free. He had some injuries. So it was a 3-year project in Europe. It was, I think, a big learning curve for him. He learned a lot. We had obviously a lot of support from KTM, and unfortunately injuries, and then obviously once the sponsorship ran out, it was just too expensive to stay there, and he came back to South Africa, and then he thought, no, he'll try what his dad tries. I used to be a motocross rider, and I moved over to off-road and then enduros, so like the Baja races we used to race in South Africa. And then Bradley, the last 3 years, gave himself a chance, and he's become one of the top enduro riders in South Africa. Not an extreme enduro, in your normal enduro special tests. A motocross rider is always good at that. And then he took on the role of the Baja races, and he automatically started winning the championships he went to America to the GXCCs and went and raced over there, and he came back, and now his eye was to go to the Dakar. And 23 years old, a little bit young. His mom, Hazel, she's a little bit worried about the youngster, but I think he's mature enough, and he's got a very good coach. Ross Branch has been helping him, from Botswana. And he's actually now in Namibia doing road book training at the moment. And he's finished the Morocco rally the other day very well. And now the Dakar is the big one, 1st of January.
Well, I wish you and of course your son the best, because just to finish, I think, would be a big thing, as we know at the Dakar. So I have a private question, because I wish I could say I was a young boy, but actually I was 30, and it was the time where there was no so much media coverage on television in Austria. So, I tried to find many pictures of you and the other guys Richard sent and who was riding at the time. And I have one question, because on some pictures the front coating of the front wheel is, this street-like wise sort of, and during the rally mostly this kind like motocross. So was this only for pictures, or were there actually specials where you used this street-wise cover?
So the front mud guard, if you can call it that, on the rally bike. On the rally bike in my day, because we used to start in Paris under the Eiffel Tower, the first special test was normally at the south of France. It was normally in the mud, in the schlump, I mean, obviously it's 1st of January, European winter, and all the special tests that we had in Europe, which was south of France and in Spain, were just in the mud, and you can't go with a low front mud guard. So that's why some of the pictures, the whole of Europe, we had a high front mud guard, and once we got into Africa, into the desert, we went for the lower front mud guard, which was better, because obviously when the wind is blowing, it affects the handling of the bike on the front mud guard, and in the desert you don't need a high front mud guard. So that was the controversy between high mud guard and low mud guard, if that explains everything to the people.
Very good, because I thought it's maybe only a PR thing, so that the sellable bike should look like your bike for these PR photos, and you were riding the mud guard. But now I understand. Thank you very much. So please tell me, what are you doing now? I see here a shop. I hope we get some pictures with a lot of bikes, a lot of, as it looks, professional mechanics who are preparing for your off-road guys. What are you also doing here?
So we're mainly an off-road shop and an adventure shop, because I'm out here on my small holding. I've been here for 21 years. I'm one of the biggest KTM dealers in the country. We sell over 200 motorcycles a year. But we have got some big projects on the go, where early next year we will be building a new KTM lifestyle shop, which will be on the main road, so no more dirt road to come to my shop. I had this idea when my wife and I were living in Germany with Bert von Zitzewitz in 95. And I used to help Bert in his shop, and then we used to do the Duitse Meisterschaft and the Weltmeisterschaft as well, but we were based in the north of Germany with Bert von Zitzewitz, and his KTM shop is right in the north of Germany, in Karlshof, everybody knows it, and on his father's farm. And when we came back at the end of 95, I said to my wife, I said to Hazel, we can do it. We have a name like Bert von Zitzewitz in South Africa, and we have a good brand like KTM. Let's ask them, let's open the dealership. And we built this after my first Dakar. I won a little bit of money, and I spent it, and I built this shop that we have now. And ever since then, we've been getting bigger and bigger, and you know what it's like. The company has grown, new models have come, but now we need to get into the street segment. Because of Brad Binder, all the schoolboys want to ride Dukes, and nobody's going to come buy a Duke on my dirt road. So this is the idea, to go and build a new shop, a KTM lifestyle shop, right on the highway. So that's the new year project, and I've also been helped by my German friend Jürgen Schröder. He's come into partnership with myself and my wife, and we're going to build this new shop. And so my connection to Europe is always very, very close. And this dealership is really grown and grown and grown. But like you say, it's a lot of hard work. You're married to the building, you're married to the people. You always have to give service. Everybody wants service. And we're just lucky that we're blessed at the moment. Honestly, we are. With the hard times that are happening in the world with this COVID, it's put a lot of problems on businesses. And we're seeing it now, especially with spare parts. There's no material, steel, plastic. We're battling for spare parts. I think KTM are also battling as well. There's so many bikes out there, they can't supply the spare parts. So it's a little bit of a challenge at the moment, but it's a challenge with a smile, you know. Nobody's really coming to fight me because his bike is not on the road, you know. So yeah, but the dealership is okay. It's going well, and yeah, it's fun for me. I really enjoy it.
Your perfect webpage when it's okay for you, we're gonna make the link
Yes.
of your webpage. It's perfect. But can you give a feeling of your adventure tours, because that's maybe for the Austrian guys quite interesting. So if you fly to South Africa, don't miss Alfie Cox, because what is happening there at the adventure tours?
Yeah, so it's when we lived in the north of Germany and I raced the German championship and also the world championship. Then I saw that in Germany and Austria and Switzerland, you know, to go with an off-road motorcycle is very difficult. I mean, to go in the forest, to go anything off-road. So I decided when I came back in '95, started in '96. I started the adventure tours with Dirk van Zitzewitz. Him and I were partners for 1 or 2 years. And then I moved over to KTM Adventure Tours with the Swiss guy, and we now do the KTM tours. For 22 years I've been doing the adventure tours, I think 23 years. So many of the Austrians and Germans and Swiss people, they know me for my tours. We go to the Wild Coast, and there's no better place that you can ride a motorcycle for 1 week with myself and great motorcycles. We always got the latest bikes, and Chris Attica is the Swiss guy that is very famous for adventure tours. Yeah, so I do the South African leg, and then we've also turned from real enduro bike tours. We also do another tour now together with Red Bull Destination on the 890s and the 690 KTMs and 1290s. Yes, as well. So now with Red Bull and it's called Destinations. You book a tour with Red Bull, and I'll look after you. Lesotho, Berkeley East, it's 8 or 9 days. We're looking for the collar and tire man that comes from the bureau, that doesn't want to fight hard enduro, but he wants to just enjoy the countryside. Going through Lesotho, looking at the mountains of Lesotho where the roof of Africa runs, and then going through to Berkeley East, and then coming to my area here, which is KwaZulu-Natal. It's an 8-9 day tour. We do about 250 kilometers a day. Some of it's technical, most of it's gravel roads. And yeah, it's been going well. The first one we had was amazing, but COVID has slowed us down a little bit. But we should start getting some momentum now in 22.
Unbelievable. So just book in and you ride with the king of the roof. It's unbelievable. So before the last question comes up, can you tell us your funniest Dakar moment? I know it's a difficult question, but maybe you have something in mind.
I mean, you know, when you've had so many Dakars, you know, I think, the Dakar brings you hard times and it brings you some fun times as well. And just when you think you're on top of your game, the Dakar can knock you down. But I think the funniest time of my Dakar was in 2000 when we went across from Dakar to Cairo to the pyramids. We had a bike that was really unreliable. They changed a lot of parts on the KTM. Every day we had problems, and for me the funniest time was breaking down. We had something happened in the engine, and you know we have a truck that comes behind us, so the truck took about 4 or 5 hours to get to me. But I was in a village, and I got myself a piece of wood, and I sat on the piece of wood, and then the chief of the village, he came to ask me, all in French. I don't speak French. He came to ask me, what are you doing? I said, no, the engine's broken. And he said, okay, in his broken French, can I help you? I said, no problem. I took the toolkit out from under the seat, and I sat there, and I gave him every spanner. I had time, and the guy opened the whole KTM, took the engine out for me, put it on the ground, and I sat on the piece of wood waiting for the truck to come. And then obviously there's 2 mechanics in the truck. Within 20 minutes we had the new engine in, closed up, and I'll head for the sunset to try and get all the way. So for me that was the funniest moment. Where would you ever be able to do that? I couldn't go anywhere. The engine was broken. Sat on a piece of wood. I gave him the 12, the 13, the 17, and him and another guy stripped the whole motorcycle. We laid it out on a nice piece of wood so that we wouldn't lose anything, and then he took the engine out, and he thought he was a great mechanic. And you know, and all the spectators from the village were standing 100 meters away, and he thought he was the chief because he could take the engine out. And I would say that's my funniest moment in the Dakar.
Thank you for sharing it with us. So maybe just, there's the camera, and thank you for the time, really. And maybe you want to greet the Austrian fans or welcome them or say hello or bye-bye, I don't know.
For the Austrian fans and the German fans, my time, and the Swiss guys, when I go to Erzberg, I'm like a family member in Erzberg. Carl and the team really, they because I won the first Erzberg in '85. In 95, I mean. So yeah, for me, Erzberg is really amazing. I meet so many friends there, and if I don't meet kindergartner in the beer tent, I'm okay. But normally we have a great time there, and Erzberg is like the getting together of all the European people and having fun and enjoying the race over the weekend.
Thanks a lot. So meet this guy, he's phenomenal.
Ja, und wenn ihr genauso wie ich dieses Feuer fürs Motorradfahren, für diese Freiheit auf zwei Rädern habt, wenn ihr mich unterstützen wollt, dann schaut weiter, gebt einen Kommentar oder abonniert den Kanal. Wir wollen mehr für euch liefern. Schauen wir mal, wie es weitergeht. Danke und Baba.